Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user BF Angry because of food. My 23 female significant other 22 male of 6 months is mad because I've asked him to contribute to my grocery bill. I honestly don't know if I'm in the wrong or not and would appreciate any input. Thanks. I live alone and my significant other likes to spend most of the nights at my place since he lives with 2 other people and they don't get along that well. We usually spend 5 nights a week at my place. I stay over at his probably once every 2 weeks. Since there are now almost 2 people living here, I obviously have to pay a lot more when I buy groceries because he's a big guy and tends to eat more than me, which is fine. 2 months ago, I've told him that I'm almost out of money and if he could contribute some to the grocery bill. It was quite embarrassing to me, but he said not to worry and he gets it since he eats here a lot, so he gave me €5 this one time. Since then, I haven't asked him because I worked a lot more and didn't have any worries money-wise. So today, he ate up almost all of my oatmeal and I asked him when was he going to get me new oatmeal because I really like eating it in the mornings. It probably wasn't the best way to ask, but hindsight is 20/20. He told me that he wouldn't get me any new oatmeal and ended up taking even more of it out of the container with his hand. I told him that I thought that was rude and just walked away. He told me that he doesn't think he ate food for €13 last week because that's the amount of money he spent on me over the week. €5 were for cigarettes. I offered to pay him back, but he said no and that he doesn't want the money. And €8 were for some takeout we had. I also told him that he doesn't need to pay for me and I could pay for myself, but he said he knew that but he wanted to pay for it anyway. He then told me that he wouldn't come over to my place anymore and left shortly afterward. Was my request unreasonable and where do we go from here? I don't know if it's important, but without working, I don't always get to work as much as I'd like to since I study. I have around €150 left every month, which usually goes to food and other stuff. He has almost twice that. Breaking up is not an option since he's usually the sweetest guy around. Well, OP, I don't think your request was unreasonable and maybe the way you worded it could have been rude, but his reaction was childish and rude. If you're dead set on not breaking up with him, then you guys need to talk budget. Because one thing is keeping score on how much money he spends on you, and another thing is sharing expenses. Daily, weekly, or monthly grocery shopping is an expense. At least that's how I see it. And I would see takeout as one of those maybe once a week, twice a week kind of thing, so not necessarily an expense. But the bottom line is that since he's practically living at your place, 5 nights a week, that's basically the whole week, then he should contribute to the groceries. Or maybe if you want to be like, okay, let's keep things as fair as possible, give him a cupboard or space in your refrigerator where he needs to fill that up with things that he buys and he gets to eat that. And what do you guys think? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Suchen says, I'm more concerned about how disrespectful he is to you and how critical you are of yourself. Why isn't this the best way to ask? He ate it. You told him you eat it in the morning and asked him to replace it. Instead of responding like a reasonable person, he refuses and shoves his hand into your container and takes more. You try to discuss the issue and he informs you that he just won't come over to your place anymore. Childish and obnoxious. Are you sure he's really the sweetest guy? Because he doesn't sound sweet to me. And OP responds, well, I could have done it a little more tactful. I didn't ask when can you buy new oatmeal, but rather when are you going to buy new oatmeal? The way I phrased it is basically the same in German, our mother tongue, but doesn't translate too well to English. Angelo Papas says, I don't think you are unreasonable at all, and it's weird he reacted as he did. You clearly need to sit down and calmly discuss this. Let him know the impact this is having on your budget. Tell him you're glad he spends time there and wanted to continue. A possible solution could be to start grocery shopping together for food that will be used together. That way he can only see how much things actually cost, but also have some input on the buying. This will hopefully result in him splitting some of the costs with you since the food will be shared. If he continues to be opposed to this, a more serious talk is required. And Dopey responds, "Thanks for your advice. I actually went with it and told him the impact it's having on my budget," to which he said okay, and that he wouldn't come over anymore. Granger from the TARDIS says, "My boyfriend is always at my apartment. I pay for my own groceries and he knows he eats a lot, so every so often he asks if he can get anything for me, or he will notice I am low on something and he will just get it for me." Most memorably, I came back to my apartment after having been gone on vacation and I arrived back to a fridge full of my favorite foods. He literally got me everything that I liked and in my preferred brand. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not unreasonable to ask he contributes to groceries, and any good boyfriend wouldn't have to be forced to make up for eating you out of house and home. Additional information from Opie's comments. He eats breakfast and dinner here 3 to 4 times a week. I always tend to cook more so I can have leftovers the next day, but when he's here, that usually doesn't happen. It's even gone so far that I hide some of the treats I get for myself because if he knows I have any candy he likes, he ends up eating it in 2 days. Anyway, I pay around 30 to 40 euros per week for food and water. Before, I paid around 15 euros per week. Also, when we're over at his place, he sometimes asks me to bring some food and doesn't contribute anything to it. I do it because he usually gets home late in the evening, and I can totally understand not wanting to go grocery shopping then, but I don't think that's normal, right? Now, to be fair, 3 months ago he went ahead and bought himself some groceries so that he doesn't have to eat any of my food. I didn't even ask for it. And when he ended up finishing milk or oatmeal, he'd get me new ones. However, that was a few months ago, and since then he hasn't done it again. Nowadays, he ends up finishing my milk, not telling me about it before I get home, that means no coffee for me in the morning, and doesn't even throw it out. I don't know what changed, maybe I should have put my foot down sooner. I don't know why he's trying to make me feel bad. He just told me again that he's not going to come over anymore. Fine by me, because he doesn't want to annoy me anymore. I never said anything about being annoyed, but that he thinks it's ridiculous I demand new oatmeal after he took some. Oatmeal costs 40 cents, and it's not about the effing oatmeal or the 40 cents, it's about the gesture and decent human behavior. Before he stormed out, I asked him to clean up after himself because he likes to leave stuff lying around. A dirty plate here, a glass of milk there, etc. And he said that he behaves like I do, since I sometimes don't clean up immediately. I've tried telling him before that I immediately clean after he leaves. I just like to spend time with him and don't want to clean everything up while he is here. I don't know if he got it. Now, as I said in my post, we don't live together, but he does get some of his mail delivered here. He basically tells everybody that he lives here. Most of his clothes are here, his bike is here, etc. He doesn't pay for the both of us when we are out. I always pay for my stuff, and he sometimes doesn't have any money and asks me if I could lend him some, which I do. He pays me back 90% of the time though. The thing is, he isn't behaving like a guest in my home. He doesn't clean up after himself and leaves dishes lying around. If I had the money, I wouldn't mind paying for everything while he is here, but I don't. He gets more than twice of what I get monthly, but spends so much that he is always broke at the end of the month. Inviting friends out, eating out at university daily, 5 euros per day. He doesn't have to eat food there, he's just too lazy to prepare lunch at home. Eating out after classes, another 4 euros daily, and then eating another big dinner at my house. Opie's edit. I just wanted to add that it's not like he always pays for my stuff. I usually pay for it myself. When we're having a night out, it's usually 50-50. He is really bad when it comes to saving, and I've lent him some, usually up to 10 euros, and he always paid it back. I fear he thinks he can eat here for free because he knows I saved up to 300 euros, but he also knows that I'm saving for our vacation later this year and that I try to save as much money as I can. He has saved up around 50 euros. There is no way I'm paying for the both of us. I don't even know or care at the moment if he's going to join me on the vacation. I've always told him that I'll take one with or without him. Anyway, I've actually called his bluff and told him that he won't be coming over anymore and we'll have to find another way to see each other. He said, exactly, and seemed rather fine with it until I got a text this night telling me that maybe he was behaving a little bit weird because he's annoyed with the way his life is going and that we never do anything. Not my fault, he's always the one being tired and laying in bed all day, and that he doesn't do much aside from studying anymore. Edit 2. He called and told me that he'd be willing to consider coming back to my place today, which actually made me laugh out loud. I've asked if he's willing to chip in with money. He said he'd rather buy his own groceries since he doesn't have any money he could give me, but apparently he has enough to buy his own groceries. And I said that we can maybe think about him coming back in the future. One final thing that I don't know if it matters, but he has gained a lot of weight in the last 6 months. Not I'm in a relationship and happy weight, but close to 12 kilos or even more, 26 pounds I think. Most of that weight has been gained in the last 3 months though, now that I'm thinking about it. I always chalked it up to him eating a lot and not exercising anymore. He used to run close to 10 kilometers or 6 miles daily, but now I'm not sure anymore. I don't know, but something changed in the last 3 months. He has been gaining weight, stopped exercising, which he absolutely loved before, stopped helping me here by doing the dishes, and only wants to be in bed when he gets home, etc. Okay, well, the community gave OP some pretty solid advice, and in this additional context that I gathered from the comment section, we learned a lot more. So what do you guys think is going on now? Do you think the boyfriend is just a douche, or maybe he's depressed or something? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. First of all, I'd like to thank every single one of you who read my post and helped me. I never expected it to blow up. Now on to the update. After I made my previous post a month ago, everything was calm for a while. I've told him that I feel disrespected when he leaves everything lying around without cleaning it, and also told him that I feel the same when he just eats all my food without buying new stuff. He said he understood, apologized for overreacting, and everything was fine. We had a small falling out because he threw a small chunk of meat on my rug by accident. It's one of those shaggy ones where you end up searching for stuff for hours. And I told him to pick it up immediately for the above mentioned reason, and he refused to. He apologized and picked it up after he finished his meal. He also talked with me about his feelings and told me that he fears he might be depressed. We had a long talk about it and how he's always feeling exhausted. I suggested maybe just picking up running again because he absolutely loved it before, and he did. It apparently even helped for a little while, but after 1.5 weeks he stopped doing that too. We also talked about our vacation, and he said he just couldn't afford it. He did go out with his friends a lot more though. This is kind of the reason I'm writing this right now. He never introduced me to his friends in our city. I have met every single friend of his in his hometown. I have met 2 of his friends in our city once, but that's it. The first time I've asked to get to know them or meet them was 5 months ago. He always claimed they were busy, and if they did go out somewhere, it was just the people from our study group, sorry. There is also a very attractive girl in his study group. When I asked him if he wanted to go out today, he said he'd think about it. We haven't seen each other a lot lately since he's always studying or grabbing a beer with his study group. He promised me a few weeks ago that he didn't have to study as much anymore and that we'd have more time to go out and enjoy our time together. Hasn't happened yet. 20 minutes later, while I was leaving to go grocery shopping, he said that he already had plans with his study group. He said that he waited to tell me until I had to leave because he didn't want me to annoy him. When I asked him who was going, he said John and the others. I asked who the others were. Turns out the attractive girl is joining them. I asked if I could join since he's been promising me I'd get to meet them for the past 4 months. He said that I'm always asking, first time today, and that he doesn't want me to meet them today, and besides, why do I always have to annoy him with my questions? I've calmly told him that I have never asked before if he could ask his group whether or not I could join, and I'm just curious since he's spending a lot of time with them, up to 30 hours for studying, the occasional beer afterward, and he's been promising for the effing past 4 months. I've also told him that I wanted to get to know them because he apparently liked them. He refers to them as his friends, even though he never truly talks about some of them in great detail. I bet you all can guess which one he doesn't talk about. A lot more stuff was said, but in the end, we broke up because I said I wanted to know why he didn't want me to meet his friends, and he couldn't come up with a good reason apart from, "Why do you need to know?" What the F? Unfortunately, I still have some of my stuff over at his, which is why I can't block him right now. But the weird part is, I'm not even hurting yet. I'm kind of sad it had to come down to this, but strangely also kind of relieved. Now, looking back, he started disappearing right after I told him we wouldn't spend as much time at my place and would have to spend a lot more time at his. So around my previous post, he also never talked about the girl but would always mention her as in, oh yeah, John and I are getting beers with the others. And it'd always turn out that she and another girl were the others. Whenever I asked anything about her, the other girl, or even his male friends, he'd accuse me of being jealous and insecure, even though I just wanted to know stuff about them. Anyway, I've already had to listen to how sad our breakup makes him, then him saying he's actually kind of glad it's over, and then back to being really sad because he was planning on taking me to a party tomorrow, which makes sense I guess since the hot girl isn't there tomorrow. But then he claimed that the guy throwing the party hasn't invited him yet and he wasn't sure if he'd actually get an invite and he didn't want to promise me anything since I always get mad at him when he promises something which he then can't or won't do for whatever reasons. Whatever, I'm just trying to get my stuff as soon as possible so I can block him. He still has his bike here though, maybe he'll just get my stuff when he's picking that up. Also, he has already tried to mess with my head by offering me another chance at saying the right thing and then getting mad when I didn't text him anything at all and ignored him. So thank you guys for all your help. Your comments on my previous post really helped me see things for what they were and make the decision to break up. So he turned out to be a douche. I'm so sorry, OP, but the good thing is that you're out of that crappy relationship and you can move on to better things. Thanks so much for sharing, OP, and all the best in the future. Take care. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user GenXNoob, forcing a moocher to pay for her way. My sister-in-law thinks both of her brothers are rich. The worst part is I caught her telling her kids that too. Anytime she visits, she lives out of state, she assumes her brothers will pay for everything. And that's usually what happens. Not only her brothers, but her in-laws will literally give her spending money. She was 33 with 5 kids at this time, and she was still relying heavily on her parents. The truth is, she's lazy and spoiled. Like, the girl won't even reach for her purse when we're out to dinner. During this one particular visit, which we paid half of the plane ticket for, I was tired of always paying for her food. We went to brunch for my husband's birthday. Sister-in-law showed up with her other brother. This usually meant he was paying for her. He knows it, we know it, and she definitely knows it. Anyway, we had a great brunch and I excused myself to go to the restroom. On the way there, I secretly asked the waitress to give us 3 checks. My husband and I got one, my brother-in-law got one, and she got one. When the checks came in, sister-in-law's face was like, what? My husband assumed his brother paid for her. His brother had too many mimosas and thought he paid for her too, rolling laughing. He assumed her food was on his bill. Both guys were so buzzed, neither noticed she paid for herself. Y'all, this was probably the very first time she ever had to pay for a meal when the men in her family were around. Sorry girl, I'm not your brother or your dad or your man. You're not going to continue to use me for money. Nicely done, OP. This is a petty revenge. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.